Hey everyone, welcome back to the sourdough series. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Bree. On my channel I talk about so many things, but this series we are focusing on sourdough. And today's video specifically, we are talking about sourdough discard. I'm sure you've heard that term if you've looked into sourdough at all. And honestly, anyone I talk to when they're starting sourdough, this is the number one question I get. What is discard? What does that mean? What is it specifically? What is the difference between discard and active? What do you do with discard? That is honestly the number one question I get from everyone I have talked to. And even after we talk about it a little bit, they're like, I still don't quite get it. So today we're going to deep dive into that. And we can't talk about that without talking about feeding. So today is a culmination of feeding your sourdough, what that means, what that looks like, and discard. Without further ado, let's start. When you feed your sourdough starter, if you simply just feed it without discarding, you will end up with gallons of starter. You start with 100 grams starter, you add 100 grams flour and 100 grams water. If you're going off of that ratio, and again, ratios are something we can talk about later, but that's a 1-to-1-to-1 ratio, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So I've done that. So this is 300 grams of starter. If I just fed it, I would put, it's 300 grams of starter, so then I would add 300 grams of water, 300 grams flour. And then the next day, that's 900. So you're going to add 900 grams of flour, 900 grams of water. So you see how quickly it would be out of control and you would have more starter than you could ever use in a lifetime. So discard, in the most simple terms, is what you're pouring out of the jar to get back to that 100 grams marker. So no matter how much you have in your jar, you will discard down until 100 grams. Again, with the 1-to-1-to-1 ratio, and I don't want to throw ratios at you, so just quickly I'm going to explain. You can use different ratios in your feeding to create a different result. So you can either get less overall starter, you can have it grow slower. I typically just stick to the 1-to-1 ratio because it works best for me. Do what works best for you. So now we have ratios out of the way. Back to the feeding it. So you're discarding sourdough starter. You're just pouring it out. And I'm going to talk about what you do with that in a minute. Basically, all it means is what you're removing from what you have down to 100 grams. Then you have active starter and hungry starter. Both times you're going to discard, right? So you're going to pour it out down to 100 grams. What you use it for is different based on if it's active or inactive. So this is very hungry. It has already risen. See how this one, okay, so I don't know if you can, I'm going to come closer. Okay, so see the rubber bands? The one on the right is active. It is peaked, it is bubbly, it is ready to bake with. The one on the left has already risen up and has fallen down again and is now hungry. So see how runny that is? It's basically liquid. This is very slow, stretchy. I'm gonna open that up. Okay, so this is active starter. See all those great bubbles and structure? It's thick. Okay, so now you know active, fed, growing starter. This is, I can't even show you because it's so runny. Hungry. Bubbles are tiny, it's runny. It's ready to be fed. When something is true discard, so you hear like discard recipes, this is what you're using. It's what you pour off after it has grown and fallen back down and is hungry. So when you're baking, anything that needs a leavening agent, so specifically your breads, your loaves, anything that you're wanting like the yeast action arise from it, you're going to use active growing starter that is bubbly, isn't hungry. That's what you're going to use for anything that needs leavening. This you will feed because it's hungry. You need to feed it. So there's a lot of options that you can use discard for. Anything that doesn't need a leavening agent, or you can use it in recipes that use yeast and it just makes it sourdough. So it just makes it a little more gut healthy because you're adding it in. So I'm gonna feed this and we're gonna watch the feeding process. And I am gonna discard this into a bowl because I'm gonna go ahead and use it for pretzels. Pretzel bites are my favorite. We do tortillas, cinnamon rolls. I honestly, anything I bake, I pour a little bit of sourdough discard into it because again, it makes it a little more gut healthy. So why not? You can pour it into a second jar and keep it in your fridge as like a backup discard. Just make sure the jar is sealed. When you have it in the fridge, you can throw it away, not down your sink in the garbage. You can pour it out on parchment paper, let it dry, crumple it up, and then rehydrate it with the rehydration steps that are also, again, in the video linked below. So bake with it, store it, dry it, throw it away. Those are your options. Again, discard is just what you're pouring out of the jar. So this is active discard, essentially, inactive discard. So when it has already eaten all the food and it's hungry, when it is still growing or peaked means it's reached its maximum growth and starts to fall back down. I still use mine even if it has fallen a little bit. I find that it works just fine, so you don't have to find that exact line. I feel like it's a little more forgiving than that. You just want to make sure it's at least doubled in size. That's why I use the rubber bands to mark. So this one has at least doubled. So I can go ahead and make a loaf of bread with this, or maybe we'll make bagels, you know. Why not have fun? Now that we have talked about what discard is, let's go through the process of feeding. So I know that my jar weighs 440 grams empty. So I am going to bring this down until 540 grams because that means I have 100 grams of starter in the jar. Again, I'm pouring in a bowl, but look how runny, basically liquid. 545. Proud of myself for that one. All right, then I'm gonna go ahead and tar. Is it tar? I think it's tare. You're gonna zero out your scale, and then we're gonna add 100 grams of flour. Okay. And then 100 grams spring or filtered water. And then we're just gonna mix it up. All right, now that's all mixed up. It's nice and thick. And this should bounce right back if you have let it go too long. If it's too hungry, it's gonna be a little bit acidic. So you may find that it takes a feeding or two for it to completely bounce back. That's why I try and stay on top of it or keep it in the fridge. If it's on the counter, for me, I wake up, feed the children, feed the frog, feed the sourdough. Make sure everyone's fed. If it's in the fridge, I again do that weekly. All right, so now you know, hopefully we cleared it up, and you know what discard is, what it means, what you can do with it, and yeah, hopefully you don't have any more questions. But if you do, please feel free to reach out to me. Happy to answer any questions you may have. And beyond that, I think that's it. So have a beautiful day. best of luck in your sourdough journey. I'm grateful you're here. Again, like, subscribe, share, helps me out so I can help you guys more. Yeah, I think that's it. Have a great day, guys. See you next time. Hey everyone, welcome. Just decided to, I guess. Yeah. So top of it. This is not a good sound with it then. So fly. So anywho.